Good evening, Internet. Welcome back to another night of me talking for far too long about video games. Tonight I'm going to be talking for far too long about the Rusty Lake / Cube Escape series. I wanted to do a timeline of the events for anyone who is coming back to the game after a long the game series after a long absence for Servant of the Lake, or anybody who is getting introduced to the games and just wants like an idea of what's going on. And so I just wanted to go through like a quick timeline of what's going on, what are the events of the games. If you are looking for a really good explainer video, Zeffy Wings has 2 videos in which she goes through the timeline, kind of like what I'm doing. She uses visuals. I'm just going to be talking. If you want a deep dive into like what is this series about, there is a channel called Flawed Peacock. I have to be really careful when I say that because it's a dick joke. Flawed Peacock has 2 videos which come out to about 8 hours altogether. Highly recommend them if you are interested in the themes and what's going on a deeper level within the series. I just wanted to go through a quick explainer video just to make sure that everybody's on the same page before Servant of the Lake comes out. The first game in the timeline is Rusty Lake Paradise. This starts off with the Islander family. I'm going to pull up a quick thing here. So this is the Islander family tree. Jacob is the protagonist of Rusty Lake Paradise. He is the focal character. He's the character we experience the events of the game through. His mother, when he was very young, sent him away from the island in order to get him away from his family. When he got older, his mother passed away, and he returned to the island to find that his family had been cursed. And after a series of curses, which he was tasked with solving, he is finally at the end of the game. Spoilers. He is sacrificed by his family in a giant wicker man in the shape of an owl, kind of like the movie The Wicker Man, but in the shape of an owl. Something to keep in mind about this game, you can see that these are labeled here. I didn't make this. I found this on Start Page Search, and I believe that it's originally from Reddit. So thank you to the Redditor who made this. All 5 of these characters here, Elizabeth, David, Gerard, Nicholas, and Margaret, they all have this archetype attached to them. So Mrs. Pigeon, Mr. Deer, Mr. Boar, Mrs. Pheasant, and Mr. Rabbit. These are archetypes that will come up throughout the timeline again. We'll see them again. I think the next place that we'll see them is in Rusty Lake Hotel. Mr. Jacob Islander, after he is sacrificed in the owl-shaped wicker man, he is granted the power of the lake. He becomes a kind of ascended being who has these powers to cross the timeline and manipulate events in the way that other people can't, in the way that non-ascended beings can't. He becomes Mr. Owl. He has an entire persona, and we will see him again masterminding things behind the scenes as the series goes on. Rusty Lake Roots. This is probably my favorite of the premium page, the premium games. Go away. Rusty Lake Roots takes place over the course of the Vanderboom family tree. The timeline of this game starts in the epilogue because timey-wimey stuff. If that's confusing, welcome to the video. In the epilogue of the game, 2 alchemist brothers, Aldous and William Vanderboom, create the elixir of life and death. Flawed Peacock and Zeffy Wings both talk about the idea of this elixir working in pairs. One person drinks it, and they are granted ascension or immortality. One person drinks it, and they are instantly killed. Aldous, Mr. Crow, who my skeleton back there is named after, he drinks it and he becomes an ascended being. He becomes Mr. Crow. He is able to traverse the timelines. He is able to interact with the cubes in a way that it seems like other people can't. And he is kind of, he leads people like Dale to do different things. And that's something that he has a part in the overarching timeline as, is kind of this person or this being that pushes things forward. William, once he drinks it, he dies instantly. He leaves this Vanderboom estate to his, we assume, son or grandson, James. James comes to this family estate. He meets Mary. The two of them have 3 children, Emma, Samuel, and Albert. Emma gives birth to a son whose name is Frank, but when he is very young, Frank is lost down a well. Emma, not knowing what happens to him, decides to take her own life, and she meets a tragic end, not knowing whatever happened to her son. Samuel, he is murdered by Albert. Albert is jealous of Ida. During a party game, we find out that Albert is in love with Ida, and he decides that if he can't have Ida, nobody can. He murders them, and he takes pieces of both of them and uses alchemy to produce a daughter for himself, Rose. Leonard, who is the son of Samuel and Ida, he goes off to fight in the Great War. He loses a leg and comes home injured. The 3 of them, Frank, Leonard, and Rose, at some point throughout the timeline of the game, Rose realizes that she's being manipulated by these otherworldly forces. She uses a Ouija board to contact us, the player, and we guide her towards an endpoint. So the 3 children, Rose, Leonard, and Frank, go down into Aldous and William's laboratory beneath the estate. Leonard and Frank are absorbed by roots beneath the house. Rose balances the substance of her life or their lives or the family tree, something. She balances the substances, and in return, she is granted her own daughter, Laura. Laura Vanderboom becomes kind of the main protagonist of the second arc of the stories, until her eventual spoilers, until her eventual death, and then her transformation into a corrupted soul, which we'll get into in a little bit. The Past Within. The Past Within and Underground Blossom are kind of sister games. The Past Within follows Rose on her journey to resurrect her father, Albert. Albert is killed by his nephew after his eventual reemergence from the well in which he was lost. But he has made preparations. He has made preparations with Rose that if he dies, she'll resurrect him. So there are 2 versions of Rose, the past version of Rose in 1926 and the future version of Rose in 1984. Rose in 1926 gathers flesh, blood, and bone from her father's while he's lying in his coffin. And then she uses a machine that he's built in order to send these substances into the future in 1984, where future Rose resurrects him. Underground Blossom is a timeline of Laura and her timeline kind of metaphorically plotted as an underground subway map. So it starts off when she's a child, when Rose is raising her as her mother. It goes to Rose getting abducted by her father, Albert. It goes to Laura's future, where she meets Bob, her boyfriend. Even further into the future, when she, spoilers again, takes her own life. And then up to the point where she becomes a corrupted soul. At the end of both The Past Within and Underground Blossom, past and future Rose meet with each other. There's this oscillation between the past and the future, and then they turn into this tree which blossoms in the underworld, in this underground, in the forest at the bottom of the lake. This helps Laura to process the grief of her life in Underground Blossom, but she has this lifetime of trauma, this lifetime of guilt, of doubt, of being alone, and we know that her fate in the future is eventually to die and become a corrupted soul. So, what bearing will Underground Blossom and The Past Within have going forward? To be determined. Rusty Lake Hotel. This was one of the first games. I think this was the first premium Steam game that they had. Rusty Lake Hotel. Mr. Owl, Jacob Islander, he has built a hotel on the island at the center of Rusty Lake. Throughout the week, he pushes his bellboy or waiter, parrot named Harvey, to murder 5 hotel guests, take a piece of them, feed them to the other hotel guests, and at the end of the week, Harvey goes to meet Mr. Owl. If you followed all of the directions, you get a box of cigars. Harvey delivers the box of cigars to Mr. Owl, and Mr. Owl reveals that he has gathered the 5 corrupted souls of his 5 guests. And these 5 corrupted souls are producing black cubes. So he's produced 5 black cubes. This is significant for future games. The thing that we're going to talk about next happens in an Easter egg. So this is never directly explored as far as we know yet. Between games, the 5 corrupted souls in the hotel break loose. Harvey is transformed from anthropomorphic parrot into just a regular parrot. He is no longer able to do the things that he was doing for Mr. Owl because he is de-evolved. I'm not sure what word would be best to use there. Samsara Room. This was the 5th anniversary game. I don't remember much about this one. I believe that this one is about Mr. Owl or not Mr. Owl, William Vanderboom. This game is about William Vanderboom attempting to be reincarnated. From Rusty Lake Roots, it seems that part of the reason why Laura was born of the lake was to act as a vessel for William Vanderboom, who died drinking the elixir of life and death. He is attempting to be reborn. He must face these trials and tribulations. And at the end of it, it seems like he is being reborn into a new body. Cube Escape Seasons. This was the first game that I think that I ever played back on Congregate when it was still a Flash game. If you've never played Cube Escape on Congregate, I think that you should probably go and do that. That's just such a time capsule of like the mid, late 2000s and early 2010s. Cube Escape Seasons is the story of Laura. Laura is the main character. She is in her home. Throughout these 4 different timelines, she has a vision of her own death, of being killed by a corrupted soul. Within her, she starts to feel as though she is going to do something terrible. She starts having these visions. She is not well. Throughout the 4 seasons, she can solve a series of puzzles in which she gathers 4 substances and uses them to produce a blue cube. The blue cube lets her rewrite her history in order to no longer have these images or these fears or these traumas that she's had. This is the story of her kind of like losing herself and then using a blue cube in order to undo all of this trauma that she has. Cube escaped the lake. Laura travels to Rusty Lake. She finds a small cabin in the lake. And as she's exploring it, she gets attacked by one of the corrupted souls that is roaming the lake from Rusty Lake Hotel. At the end of it, she uses a pentagram of these different symbols in order to produce a light, which hits the corrupted soul and allows her to leave. Cube escape Harvey's box. This is the same events as Cube escape the lake, but Harvey, the parrot, is in his box in the cabin. After solving a series of these escape puzzles, he looks up. The corrupted soul that attacked Laura is looking down into the box. The corrupted soul is hit by the beam of light, and Harvey is able to escape. Cube escape Arles. This one isn't directly connected to the narrative that we've been talking about so far. Cube escape Arles is the story of Vincent van Gogh. It's very much like an homage to his art. There's a bunch of different references to his life and his art. It's very much a love letter to Vincent van Gogh. But the cubes are used as a metaphor for him of his mental health and of his journey to towards his eventual taking of his own life. And so even though this is not connected directly to the story, it is a rhyme, or it is a parallel to Laura's own journey of mental health. Cube escape birthday. Cube escape birthday is a memory. It's not an actual, we don't play it as the actual timeline. It's a memory that Dale Vandermeer, the detective that is assigned to Laura Vanderboom's case, Dale Vandermeer is assigned to her case, and he is he goes through several memories during this time. One of those is his birthday as a child. His childhood birthday, his parents and his grandparents throw a party for him, but he receives a letter from Mr. Owl. The letter says that today is going to be the darkest day of your life, but it has a present that goes with it. As his parents and grandparents are singing happy birthday to him, lighting the candles on the cake, getting ready to celebrate, Mr. Rabbit breaks down the door with a Tommy gun, shoots Dale's parents and grandparents, and then leaves a note that says, "I'm sorry, I needed this substance from my past life." Don't know what that's about. Dale goes through the puzzles. He figures out the riddles that Mr. Owl has left for him. He constructs a blue cube, which he uses to turn back time, allowing his grandfather to shoot Mr. Rabbit when he bursts through the door, stopping him from murdering his parents and grandparents. As Dale chases after Mr. Rabbit, who is bleeding out in the snow like an old spy movie, Mr. Rabbit becomes a tree, very much like Rose did in the Underground Blossom. Because it's a memory, it's hard to know if this really happened. Which version of this really happened? Did Mr. Rabbit actually kill Dale's parents? Did Dale's grandfather actually shoot Mr. Rabbit? Timey-wimey stuff. Cube Escape Case 23. This is the first one that kind of introduced the murder mystery of Cube Escape / Rusty Lake. Laura has been killed. We know from the previous Cube Escape games that she took her own life. But Dale feels like more is going on here. He sees things happening, paranatural things, supernatural things. Things are happening. So he arrests Laura's ex-boyfriend, Bob. Bob immediately becomes a corrupted soul and murders the policeman who is keeping him hostage, and then escapes. Captive would be a better word, not hostage. He murders the police officer who's keeping him captive and then escapes. Dale is led to the lake by a series of clues. He journeys. Yes, this is where he journeys into the lake. The lake starts becoming corrupted by something. We don't see it at this point, but the waters of the lake have become corrupted by a black cube. Dale is confronted by a deer-shaped corrupted soul. He escapes into an elevator into the lake. Very weird. It's a very cool sequence. If you haven't watched it or if you haven't experienced it, I would definitely recommend Cube Escape Case 23. It's a good one. Cube Escape the Mill. This one is actually an Aldous game. The first Aldous game, I think. Aldous is tasked by Mr. Owl to carry out a series of actions. He goes and takes Laura's body and hooks it up into a machine where he extracts memories from her brain. One of the things that Flawed Peacock in his videos talks about is this kind of recurring theme of steeping things. In Rusty Lake Paradise, the burning of the owl-shaped wicker man kind of steeps the lake with Jacob's spirit or something. In Cube Escape Arles, when he's pouring absinthe over sugar, he steeps it kind of in the sugar. In Cube Escape the Mill, there's this recurrence of things being steeped in other things, with the black cube being steeped in the waters of the lake. This corrupts the lake, which is what we see at the end of Case 23. So these two are probably taking place kind of concurrently. And then Mr. Owl within the mill is giving Mr. Crow these different instructions. So it seems like Mr. Owl has an end game in mind that we haven't seen yet. So keep in mind that Mr. Owl is probably the mastermind behind this, and he probably allowed this corruption of the lake for his eventual purpose. Cube Escape Theater. Cube Escape Theater shows Dale meeting Bob at the bar. It shows a stage play in which things like Mrs. Pheasant from Rusty Lake Hotel and these symbols of samsara, these different themes that have come up throughout the series so far, they're all presented as a stage play. And this is really meta. This is a really cool kind of idea of Dale experiencing these memories as a constructed piece put on by Mr. Owl. Is Mr. Owl like manipulating Dale? Is he manipulating his memories? Is he teaching him things through symbols? there's a lot going on here. It's difficult to know for certain, but I think that the idea of Mr. Owl sharing these different things, these different clues with Dale through different symbolic stage plays or these different constructed scenarios, I think that's something to keep in mind. Mr. Owl trying to communicate with Dale, but not directly, not just sitting down and telling him, here's what's going on, but kind of making sure that he is caught up with his memories and with these different aspects of the story so far. Cube Escape the Cave is another Aldous game. Mr. Crow finds Jacob in a cave. He, through a series of puzzles, goes through the lake and gathers a black cube, a white cube, and a blue cube. Using a machine, he transforms these cubes into a golden cube, which he hands to Dale. Dale then ascends the elevator. Remember, before he was descending into the lake, he ascends the elevator up to Rusty Lake Hotel. This is going to get complicated, so lock in. The White Door. The White Door is the story of Bob. It's a series of his memories. He is having memory issues, and so he goes to a facility in order to kind of try to reconstruct his memories. However, this facility is run by Mr. Owl, Jacob Islander. During the day, they're trying to reconstruct his memories so that he can kind of get back to his normal life. But at night, they're going into his memories and experimenting on him. They're also keeping 10 people captive in the basement, which is strange. Why does Mr. Owl need these 10 people in the basement? But the important thing is that Bob is trying to remember Laura, but remembering her, remembering their life together, causes him to become corrupted. So the nurse who is looking over him decides that she's going to erase the memories of Laura from his brain, which means that he will no longer become corrupted. However, he still maintains the memory of their first meeting, the happiness that meeting her for the first time brought him, even though he can't remember her. So that's the story of the White Door. It's kind of a side story, but it gives us a lot of information like from the world. And I think that that's really cool. Cube Escape Paradox. This is probably the most confusing game, just by virtue of having 3 different endings that could all be canon. Dale Vandermeer awakens in a paradox room at Rusty Lake Hotel. 2 different versions of him, 2 different timelines. Mr. Owl talks to Dale. He says that I am looking for a successor, but I need somebody who can ascend. I need someone who can become an ascended being like me. In one timeline, Dale solves the puzzles. He lets himself out of the room at Rusty Lake Hotel. He makes his way down to the beach, and he sees Laura murdered by a corrupted soul. In another timeline, Dale solves the puzzles. He makes his way out of the hotel. He makes his way down to the beach, and Mr. Crow hands him a knife and says, "You know what to do." And Dale becomes a corrupted soul, grabs Laura, and slits her throat. So we now have 3 different things that have happened to Laura. She's taken her own life, she's been killed by a corrupted soul, and she's been killed by Dale Vandermeer. So which one is real? Which one is canon? Is there a canon? Is there continuity? Are all of them canon? Is this a time split? What is happening with Cube Escape Paradox? I don't really have answers for you. I don't know. Hopefully we find out eventually. The Mr. Rabbit Magic Show. This one just came out this year. This is the 10th anniversary. Within the game, they call it the birthday, but this is the 10th anniversary game. It follows a video game version of Mr. Rabbit as he performs magic tricks on a stage. You solve his magic tricks, you figure out what he needs from you, and then it pulls back to reveal that you are in the Rusty Lake Devs offices. You are the intern. There's also a video that goes with this. The intern. I'm not going to watch it as a reaction video because I already watched it. But Cube Escape Paradox and Mr. Rabbit Magic Show both have videos that go with them. I would highly encourage you to watch the Cube Escape Paradox video, if nothing else. The Mr. Rabbit Magic Show has a good video. It involves the intern going and having to publish the game. Mr. Rabbit Magic Show, once it pulls back, you play as the intern. You solve a series of puzzles. At the end of the game, you bring in a giant cake. Mr. Rabbit leaps out of the cake with his Tommy gun, but instead of shooting the crowd, he shoots confetti. So it's very cute. It's not as heavy as like Cube Escape Paradox is, but it's fun. It's a fun ending to the game. So those are the different games within the Rusty Lake / Cube Escape games. As far as I know, Mr. Rabbit Magic Show is the newest one in the timeline. If it's even canon to the games, it might not be. So hopefully you guys have a good basis of understanding. We're all on the same page going forward. And once Servant of the Lake comes out, we'll get more answers to these different things, these different questions that we might have about the series. So yeah, I've talked for way too long about the Rusty Lake and Cube Escape games. If you would like more information, I would highly recommend Zeffy Wings and Flawed Peacock. Those are the two channels that I would recommend. Let me know if you have any questions or if I've misinterpreted anything. If there's anything important that you think I should add to the timeline if I ever do something like this again. Yeah. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining me as I talk for far too long about video games. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Good night.